Next, we're excited to hear from one of our peers, Stefania Shaffer. So Stefania Shaffer traded a successful career in corporate America for middle school classroom as an English language arts classroom teacher. 15 years later, she has expanded her role into writing 21st century elective curriculum that focuses on college and career readiness. In 2016, she received the Superintendent's Award for 21st Century Teaching. Stefania is the author of the fictional story, Heroes Don't Always Wear Capes. It's about a student who eventually finds a few extraordinary teachers who become her heroes for life. She has spoken at various education conferences, including the Gates Foundation for Teachers, also known as ECET2. I'm going to hand it over now to Stefania as our second Ed Talk speaker. Welcome. Let's give her a round of applause.
We're here today to talk about what it takes to be a teacher in this century. So I'd like to review some of the rules that were presented in your teacher handbooks. Start your fires at 7 a.m. so that your classrooms are warm before the children arrive. Scrub your floors weekly. Clean your blackboards daily. Don't loiter downtown by the ice cream parlors. Don't wear bright clothing. Don't dye your hair. After 5 years of due diligence, the faithful teacher will be awarded an increase in pay of 25 cents a week. Oh, are we in the wrong century? Okay, you've seen these. They've been going around. Some of what was presented to teachers 100 years ago in 1915, so we believe. Would it not be nice, though, to have a handbook for what it takes to be a teacher in our 21st century? Companies all around us are defining what they need from their employees. So as we prepare students for college and career readiness, we take a cue from captains of industry. We are in the Google era of thinking, which I define as employees who must be ready to work in new group dynamics, meet team challenges ahead of deadline, come up with some stunning new sensational idea to set the world on fire. More than grit, this takes 21st century skills: collaboration, creativity, critical thinking to problem solve, communication, participation, professionalism, and if you add in digital and financial literacy, you've just done a very good job of creating the well-rounded human ready for today's workplace. It seems so obvious to us as teachers, but when our students hear the term Google, all they really know to do is find the work that someone else has already created. And it only takes them 30 seconds. And they truly believe they just achieved the task that we asked of them. What we need to teach them is that the 21st century student is able to add in a new layer of insight beyond the research already available. We are asking them to use their own brain to create solutions that have not yet been tried. The 21st century teacher, it's the skill set every administrator is looking for, so whether you're a veteran teacher or a newbie, your principals are examining your talents to figure ways to maximize your credential to apply it to the greater good of the school. Here's how this played out for me. Our staff was already accustomed to project-based learning. We had won a ribbon and ultimately become a California Distinguished School for our efforts. So we were willing to try new things. But as a language arts teacher, I always understood the power of learning by doing, which is why kids love science, for the labs. So I wanted to make my reading more interesting, and I would incorporate a hands-on approach to teaching novels. As soon as we teach The Giver, we'd hold a murder trial for the father of Jonas, finding evidence to, sell an argument, anticipating what your opponent will rebut, and communicating with clarity and passion to convince that jury. All 21st century skills going on here. But just as I was wondering how many more times can I teach Ricky Tikki Tavi, my principal was wondering, would I be willing to help build up our elective program by writing curriculum for more course offerings? This was a great way for me to tap into my own creativity, so I leaped at the chance to broaden our commitment to building 21st century learners. So I said yes to teaching public speaking, I said yes to teaching enterprising youth and improv, and I said yes to yearbook by default, because nobody ever really says yes to yearbook. Enterprising youth is my baby. It's like the game of life without the cardboard. Kids assume mock careers, they get paydays with financial gains and losses, they need to meet a savings goal by the end of the year, and they have to become debt-free. And they cannot achieve this solely relying on their paydays. So they are forced to participate in team challenges to supplement their income. Every month, I give them a real-world problem to solve as they strategize for the money pot. And this is what it looks like. High energy, intense conversations going on at the table, and then sometimes you see some students pull away from the group to fake work. Now, fake work might be a term you are not familiar with. It is when the child seems wholly preoccupied with the task at hand, but is really just doodling or urgently getting up to use the water fountain and then requiring a pass to the restroom and then circling back to repeat the process for the next 48 minutes. And that is the child who suffers the most. And it is not for the learning opportunity that they just missed out on. It is for the money pot their team is determining how to split. Or maybe we don't give you any money at all. And this is the part I find so interesting, the maybe we don't give you any money at all. Because after having taught this class to young engineer types or straight A students or non-academic types altogether, I find there really is only one type of child, and it is the child who expresses real greed for fake money. This is all they clamor to do, is find ways to stuff their fake checking accounts. The best case scenario for this class is that you are not only developing 21st century learners, but 21st century leaders. As soon as you spot that one team that is so cohesive and collaborative and creative and dynamic that other groups take note and decide they better ramp up their own game to be competitive, you've done your job. As soon as you can determine that they have rehearsed where everybody knows their own part by heart without having to read it from the slides, you've done your job. When it's obvious that every single person in that team shared the ownership of the final outcome, you have done your job. And after they have taken stage, when it is apparent that they have already anticipated their greatest critics by preparing answers in advance full of evidence to justify their position for the solutions they are presenting, you have done your job. I've had students fight me tooth and nail because they believe an elective class should be an easy A. It's usually the same student who will say at the end of the year, this was by far the best educational experience he has ever had, and he feels so much better prepared for the real world because of it. As a 21st century teacher, there is no greater feeling. Improv is the great joy and delight in my day. You talk about 21st century skills at play. It's chock full of collaboration and critical thinking and creativity. You have to listen to your partner, you have to make them look good, and you have to be willing to accept whatever it is they throw your way. And as a teacher, you have to be brave enough to take a few risks of your own and to create a safe environment. Otherwise, none of your children will be willing to follow your lead because nobody really wants to be laughed at. So I created a sketch called British Nanny, which is one of our favorites because it involves me playing Mean Mummy and a couple of the students playing my children and a couple more students playing the memorable nanny characters. And one of our favorites is former drill sergeant as new nanny. It's hysterical to watch. And sometimes when we really get on a roll, we'll invite in Mummy's Mummy. She's never called grandmother. She's always Mummy's Mummy. And the kids love it when she appears because she's so mean to Mean Mummy. And what's even more delicious is Mummy's mummy is always played by some stocky, burly boy donning an apron. So we have a lot of fun with that. And it's a chance for them to see me try on a British accent. It gives them a sense of security and taking risks that they won't look so ridiculous. This one trimester, I had the child in my class who was just wreaking havoc everywhere. And he really, really wanted to be on stage, and I really, really wasn't sure how this was going to go. And I finally relented, and I let him play my child. And so I say to him, "Oh, Neville, your mummy's little precious. How'd mummy ever get such a wonderful little boy as you?" Then I say to the other child, "You, look at you with those daggers in your eyes going straight through mummy's heart. What I ever do to you, I don't know. Oh, Neville, the nannies will be here soon. Mummy's going out for a little bit, but mummy will miss you. Your mummy's precious." And then Neville looks up at me and he says, "Oh, mummy, I love you so." And we all do this neck snap and think, well, here's this unpredictable child playing nice and actually getting into this part. And he turned out to be one of the best actors in our class. He would don new accents and create memorable characters. All he needed was a great audience. And it was a wonderful reminder that you never know how kids are going to shine if they don't have that chance to polish some of these unused skills. Yearbook. Well, I was completely overjoyed that in my second year of being yearbook advisor, we were given an award of excellence from the publisher who produces more than 3,500 national middle school books a year. It was a huge honor and one I bestowed upon the kids because it was they who were doing all the work behind the scenes, meeting the deadlines to follow our vision plan. Was I thrilled that this group of kids was able to harness their marketing power to help sell 85% of our campus? You bet. Was I equally elated when they were willing to rise to the challenge I put to find advertisers from the retailers downtown? Oh, yes. These were the kind of kids that we want to see from all of our 21st century students. Able to work together, meeting deadlines, brainstorming sensational ideas to set the world on fire and being professional about it throughout the whole process. To be a 21st century teacher, you have to be willing to take some risks. You have to know your end game, and you cannot falter in your lesson planning because as soon as kids detect a hole in your thinking, it's going to take forever to reel them back and establish street cred again. It's already hard enough to be an elective teacher because some kids consider this to be their easy pass class. Parents, some, might be skeptical that you will be the teacher to try and do less, unless you have established clear expectations that Google-era thinking will never be more rehearsed than in your class. Emphasize the rubric. Measure critical thinking by how each child is able to add in a new layer of insight beyond the research already available online. Practice different groupings. We are beyond rows and rote. Put kids in uncomfortable situations to work with people they might not know well or might not get along well with, because that's what's waiting for them in life, and we know this. Incorporate digital and financial literacy. Teach them how to build a presentation using technology. Even better, teach them how to engage their audience without reading from the slides, and teach them how to share equally in the role of presenting ideas as a team. If we want to have 21st century learners, we must have 21st century teachers. Today, there is no one better to lead the way than you. Thank you.